Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing a traditional sealed event. These are best 2 out of 3 sealed events. Other than that, same entry fee as a regular sealed event, same deck construction, 6 packs, 15 cards, and we're just going to bust open these packs and see what we get. So without further ado, let's check out our rares. Alright, so looks like we've got one pretty sweet rare this time around, the Quirion Beast Collar, a 2-mana 2/2. Whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and when it dies, distribute all of the +1/+1 counters on it among any number of creatures you control. Pretty busted card, really nice if you can curve out with it on turn 2 and play multiple creatures afterwards. That is the ideal time to play this card, so pretty happy to try to go in that direction. Our other rares are all pretty unexciting. They're all potentially good in very specific, very narrow decks. Valiant Veteran, you need to have a lot of soldiers in your deck. Sten, Paranoid Partisan, you need a lot of instants, sorceries, enchantments, or artifacts. One specific type, though, is what Sten is going to reduce. And for Ratadrabek, you need a lot of legendary creatures so that you actually get some value off of the death trigger. So other than that, these aren't particularly playable if you don't have those specific things that they work well with. And then our other 2 rares are pretty simple, just a couple fine dual lands. Not as good as the common dual lands because the common dual lands have basic land types, which is important for a lot of cards, particularly for domain cards, but also some of the mana fixing can pull out lands from your deck if they have a basic land type. But that could still be good if we have some good multicolored cards or just stuff we want to splash. So we're going to look at each individual color soon enough, but I like to start off by looking at the multicolored and the colorless. And that also shows off our mana fixing that we have available. So not great mana fixing in this sealed pool. 1 Molten Tributary, 1 Geothermal Bog, 1 Karplusan Forest, 1 Haunted Mire, and 1 Sulphurous Springs. So all but 1 of our dual lands are red, and 3 of them are black, 2 of them are green. So specifically we have some Jund mana fixing for the most part. Only 1 dual land outside of the Jund 3 color pairs, red, black, green there, so if we're any mixture of those colors, we'll have some solid fixing, but not the greatest fixing for anything that we might want to do here. We've got some really, really strong uncommon build-arounds, particularly Tachiova being just the strongest card probably that we've seen in our seal pool outside of the Quirion Beast Collar. A 3-mana 3/3 that gives land creatures flying and allows you to make one of your lands become a 3/3 creature with haste permanently every time you play a land when you have 7 or more. So once you hit 7 lands, Tachiova takes over the game pretty dang quickly. Very powerful card. Zaro Janin, probably the second strongest of our uncommons here. Pretty dang good as well, being able to potentially put a counter on your entire board of creatures. Queen All in All is fine, but very build around, and Tori is fine for a very aggressive deck. Also a little build-aroundy, but really like these 2 for sure. Looking at our colorless cards, there's a Vanquisher's Axe that I'm unlikely to play in any deck, and a Joda's Codex that is going to be a pretty powerful card in sealed. The sealed format is definitely slow enough that I consider this super playable, especially if you have some very good domain lands, the common dual lands. We've got a few of them. We'd probably, if we end up in Jund, like run all of them, even the Tributary, just to help up the domain count for Codex, make it really cheap to just keep drawing cards off of. But this does absolutely take over the game. After it's on the board, just letting you draw an extra card each turn means you're going to overwhelm your opponent just by casting more spells than they do. So let's take a look at each individual color now. I like to do them just one by one. Generally assess the card quality, try to keep in mind what different synergies might work well between colors there. So starting with white, we have some okay stuff. I like double Love Song of Night and Day. I like this card just as a 3-mana 2/2 flyer that comes with a +1/+1 counter to put elsewhere. We've got a Cleaving Skyrider, which is pretty great if you can kick it for red. That's a lot of fun. Cavalier's fine. Knight of Dawn's Light is a very good 2-drop. Everything else here, though, just pretty fine filler. The Herbalist, the Drawbridge. Stall for Times are going to be very good if we're blue-white, and still fine filler if we're just white. And then Destroy Evil is a pretty solid removal spell. So white just looks solid overall. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just got some stuff. No top end, though. Probably the biggest flaw in white. Small amount of removal and basically no like win conditions in the end of the game. Wow, our blue is very interactive here. 4 copies of Essence Scatter. We have 2 blue creatures, period. Soaring Drake and Volsh Tide Turner. Tide Turner is super filler, but I suppose we'll have a lot of instants and sorceries if we go blue to have this help cast. That being said, most of our instants and sorceries are so cheap that this is not going to be that relevant that often anyway. So, don't even know if the Tide Turner is exciting at all, but the 1 Soaring Drake is good. 4 Essence Scatter with double Impulse is pretty nice. Being able to hold up an Essence Scatter and cast an Impulse instead if you don't end up countering something is always a really nice play pattern. The Tolarian Geyser to bounce an opponent's creature and then scatter it afterwards is nice, so I do like Geyser with quadruple scatter. If we have a color that has a lot of just good creatures, blue could be a really nice support color here with just all the interaction. Pretty cool stuff out of blue. Looking at black now, we have not very good creatures, if I'm being honest. I am not really a fan of Toxic Abomination at all. The 2 life is not generally worth that 1 extra power you're getting, as it often just still trades into opposing 2-mana 2/2s anyway. The Tattered Apparition plays really slow. I don't love the Barricade without token production and stuff, it's just fine. Soul Tender, again without other graveyard synergies, is just fine, but I suppose we do have Urborg Repossession. Knight of Dust Shadow is pretty great. Cult Conscript can be good. But it hasn't played very well for me either, so I'm not very high on the card. And then Double Battlefly Swarm are very filler, just fine. Tons of filler stuff when it comes to the black creatures. 1 really good one, the Knight of Dust Shadow. And then when you look at our removal suite, we do have triple Tribute to Urborg, which is good, especially if we go black-blue. But I don't think it's enough to make me super excited about black when I look at the just filler level of our creatures in the color. Looking at red now, we do have a lot of red cards. I'm not a very big fan of most of these though. I really don't like Thrill of Possibility much, or Smash to Dust. Twinferno and Furious Bellow are fine little tricks, but not very exciting. They're pretty filler. Enthralled to the Pit, I don't really like it at all unless I'm red-black, which is unlikely because I don't think our black is very good. So all this kind of gets out of here. Jaya's Fire NATO is just filler. If you really need removal, it's filler level removal because it's pretty slow, kind of inefficient. Then when you look at our creatures, there's really nothing standing out all that much. Branch Rider, unplayable unless we're red-green, and even then it's just okay. Amplifier, it's okay if we're red-blue. Infantry can be okay if we have a ton of instants and sorceries. Maybe this is a fine creature suite for the blue-red deck, but we'd still be really low on creatures because blue, we only have 2, and most of these red creatures aren't great, and there's not a ton of them either. But I guess that's an option. But yeah, red doesn't look particularly exciting in any particular way. On to my personal favorite color in the format that I guess I'm just going to end up running in every single sealed deck. We've got green here, and we have some really, really nice stuff in green for potentially going for that green-blue deck. I did say blue looked like a really nice color if we have some other color that has 1 million creatures, and wow, did we open up 1 million green creatures. So I could definitely see making a really nice green-blue deck here off of Tachiova, maybe even running a bunch of those dual lands just to get that domain count up for the Sunbathing Root Wallet to do extra damage, the Yavimaya Sojourner to come out a little cheaper, and maybe throw in the Joda's Codex as well to try to get a bunch of value. So yeah, green, not a ton to say about it. We want a lot of creatures in this color to go with our Quirion Beast Collar. It has our strongest rare, which is Quirion Beast Collar, so it's kind of just a mountain of creatures, and that's exactly what we sort of want it to be for the Quirion Beast Collar and for if we go green-blue, so I'll absolutely take it. We've even got one little removal spell here, the Bite Down. one little combat trick to try to leverage his removal, and blue kind of has us covered on that front with 4 Essence Scatters, so yeah, I'm thinking green-blue Tachiova with a bunch of just blue interaction here and all these green creatures could be a very solid way to go. Alright, so here's what it looks like if we put every single green and blue card in this deck, as well as Joda's Codex and all 3 of our domain dual lands. I unfortunately thought we had more of these, but that's because we have the 2 rare lands that aren't actually useful in here because they're not helping for the Joda's Codex domain. We've got a green-red and a black-red, so I guess if we really want to splash some red and black stuff, we can. But again, nothing in those colors that's really worth splashing. I mean, I can double check here, and I'll check again at the very end, but I'm really not seeing anything splash power level in these colors. Maybe throw in Tribute to Urborgs, be kind of green, black, blue if we want to up our removal count. It's probably the biggest thing I'm seeing. In any other color, honestly, that's worth splashing would just be Tribute to Urborgs. Maybe Zaro Janin out of white, but we have no white dual lands. And I don't believe we opened any mana fixing in green, so it's going to be a hard splash. It is only 1 white mana in the cost, but we'd have to just play a bunch of... We'd have to play like 3 planes just naturally, because we don't have anything that tutors out lands. We have Vinewald look at the top 6, which sort of gets us there. I guess we have 1 Scout the Wilderness. That would be kind of helpful. But I'm not sure Zar's worth it without better mana fixing than that. So let's just go for the very basic green-blue deck for now, and we'll take another look at potentially splashing after we see how good the kind of streamlined green-blue, just Simic nonsense version of this deck looks. So we currently have 48 cards. I'd like to have a pretty high creature count in this deck with Quirion Beastcaller. The average limited deck's creature count is somewhere around 15 to 17 or 14 to 18. That's like a very average creature count there, so we want to be hopefully towards the higher end, so something like 16, 17 creatures. Let's see what we've got right now. 16. It's pretty unfortunate because we have some filler creatures I'm not a huge fan of. I definitely like the Ancient, the Sojourner, the Baloth, the Worm. Double Prodigy is great, but Barkweave Crusher I've found to be quite filler. Just not the most power being added to the board at that point in the game. 2/5 is still kind of decent stats for the cost though, so it could be okay. Then my least favorite creature in the whole deck is the Hexbane Tortoise, just because it's not a great enlist card, simply because it's going to trade down into 2 1s and 2 2s very easily, so your opponent doesn't have to block it with any creature that's particularly important to them. It can still work in specific situations. Obviously, if your opponent has a board state where they have just a 5/5 Death Touch or a 5/5 Trample or something, all of a sudden you get to enlist your Linebreaker Baloth, your big 4/4 or 5/4 or something onto the Tortoise and send that in instead. But it's just not good in as wide a variety of board states as some of the chunkier enlist creatures. So I don't know. I guess that's what the Barkweave Crusher is for, the really high toughness enlist card, but I think we'll just run them all to keep the creature count high. I don't think they're that terrible that I'm actively making my deck horrible by running Tortoises or Tide Turners or Barkweave Crushers, the 3 most filler creatures in the deck. So we're going to be cutting 8 non-creature cards out of this deck then. We're probably cutting Scout the Wilderness if I'm not splashing in the white. Outside of that, we do have 2 random black sources to help kick the Espionage, which is cool. That's also just a great piece of card advantage in a slower format like Dominaria United Sealed. So definitely going to keep that, and the Geyser and the Codex. Not sure we need the Colossal Growth. Try to have our non-creature cards be sort of held for just the interaction, the counter spells here, the impulses, the instant speed stuff. Again, instants are pretty awkward in a deck full of creatures, because the more instants that are in your deck, the better your instants are all going to be, because then you have more options if you don't end up casting your counterspell. You know, and there's more options of what to do with the mana that you're holding up. So it is kind of awkward to have, 16 sorcery speed creatures and then a ton of instants. That is a little bit of a non-synergy there, but I think it's still worth it. We'll definitely cut Negate for now. Maybe it comes out of the sideboard. I don't think Protect the Negotiators does, though. This card's not super playable unless you can kick it. That's where you do get decent value off of it, but without making the 1/1, it's just a pretty inflexible counterspell that sometimes doesn't even work for you. But if you make the creature off of it, that does help it a great deal in going up in value. I actually do like Timely Interference quite a bit. I did say it was one of my top blue commons. That was a bit of a mistake. I don't think it's one of the top 3 blue commons. I think it's actually more in the middle of the road in this format, but the reason for that is because blue has so many very good evasive creatures that you're not getting into combat often enough to use a trick like this. Like, creatures aren't really blocking each other that often. But with my mountain of green creatures, that could still happen. That being said, I still need to make room in the deck, so I might still cut it, but if there was ever a deck that could actually use a Timely Interference pretty well, it would be a deck with just so many creatures on the ground getting in and trading off often, which is a deck like this. But again, our non-creature spells are so high quality, we've got to get something out of here, get more room. Maybe we drop the scatters, drop down to just like 3 of them here. I could see that being a thing. We could also even drop down towards almost completely mono green, honestly. The way the sealed pool is just a bunch of big green creatures and not much else anywhere else. But I don't know, we'll cut the Timely Interference. I still have to cut 3 more cards. We are now cutting down on the instant sorcery count a bit, which makes Tide Turn a little worse. Maybe we could cut the Tide Turner in 1 scatter. We'd still have to cut 1 more card after that. That would put me down to 15 creatures, though. I don't think I want to cut a land here. We've got a really good 7-drop, and we have another card that really wants us to hit 7 lands, the Techova. I don't really think we can go below 17 lands here. I guess I could cut the Tide Turner and I could cut double scatter. Yeah, I mean, that same argument I was saying earlier where if my plan is to keep curving out and slamming all these creatures on the board, I'm not really going to have time to hold up mana that often, not till very late in the game. But this is a format with some bombs, at least in my experience, so even having an Essence Scatter late game can feel pretty good. But you don't need 4 Essence Scatters to always have one in the late game. You only need like a couple if the plan is to play them later. Yeah, I'll cut 2 Scatter in the Tide Turner. We treat this as much higher on the curve. This is for when we're done dumping creatures on the board. This seems pretty fine to me. This seems pretty good. Pretty reasonable. Again, I think Czar is a strong card, but I just don't know if Czar's worth running without. Good ways to get the white sources. That's kind of the only splash card. The other one was the removal, but I think I'm doing okay on interaction. Could reconsider in between rounds or in between games, since this is best of 3. But for now, I'm kind of okay leaving Tribute out of here. But Tribute would be a much easier splash for this deck because we do have 2 black dual lands in the deck already. So it would not be particularly difficult to get these in here. Maybe I shouldn't be so married to my creature count here. And maybe it is okay to just cut the creatures that I consider more mediocre, such as the Tortoises and the Barkweave Crusher, just to get these tributes in. Like, Beast Caller is still a strong card, even if I can't slam down a million creatures. And I have really nice late game ways to win the game, so try to get these early game pieces of interaction. That also double as ways to kill bigger creatures later in the game if we keep the instant sorcery count high. I think that the tributes synergize really well with our blue package of having the essence scatters. So that kind of even makes me want to put the essence scatters back up to 4. Could even throw in the Urborg Repossession for a pretty good value play later in the game. If I'm going for a Sultai deck now. Which could be a thing, but I am also actively lowering my creature count currently, so Urborg Repossession does get weaker at that point. What does this deck look like as a Sultai control deck? That's the question here. We drop the Crusher, the Double Tortoise. Still have to cut 3 more cards. Probably as many creatures as I want to cut here. Probably do end up just like dropping the Repossession and maybe dropping the Double Scatter again anyway. But this makes me like really happy about my non-creature spells. Playing kind of the controlling role. Could go massively low on creatures. Be all in on this interaction as my turn 2 play. If I go low enough on creatures, I would even just cut Beast Caller, and then it's like, why am I playing green at all at that point? I mean, Techiova and Mossbeard Ancient. Green has all of my biggest ways to actually win the game. It has the best like control deck finishers even. Of just counter everything, remove everything early game, and then once we hit late game, drop a Techiova or Mossbeard or something. Like, theoretically, I have the interaction to make a really good blue-black control deck. The problem with going for just a blue-black control deck is I don't have any way to win the game. I just can't close out the game in those colors. Like, what am I doing after I clear everything and counter everything? I'm dropping a Tattered Apparition as my win condition? Like, that's just way too slow and not worth it. And blue has literally no finishers. Honestly, it's so weird, but I feel like I feel like my best interaction, my best non-creature cards here lend themselves incredibly well to a deck that is just a ton of instant speed interaction. Counterspells, instant speed removal, instant speed card draw, right? Which makes a really controlling build for a really creature low deck. But then my best ways to win the game are in green, so I end up in this green deck with a very low creature count, just so I can get Techiova and Mossbeard in here, really. To the point where maybe I even just cut a Beast Caller. Like, I cut 3 creatures here as the cuts. Feels so weird. But I don't know. I feel like the build of this deck that involved all of the creatures to make this Quirion Beast Caller better was kind of a build that like really relies on the Quirion Beast Caller, because if we're not getting the Beast Caller, we're kind of just jamming out a bunch of mediocre creatures on curve, which is fine. But I feel like the deck, like without the Quirion Beast Caller, with the lower creature count here, would just be the more consistent, more viable strategy. Like, there's actually like rhyme and reason to what we're doing more so. There's a lot more impactful cards. Really don't know here. I mean, I might not even need the Codex with this value. We have double Prodigy, drawing a card when we play them. Got double Impulse, digging for the best card of our top 4. We've got Urborg Repossession late game. I think I like the Tribute to Urborg version better. I don't know if I want to go as hard in that direction as I was saying a second ago, of like even dropping down 3 more creatures where Beast Caller wouldn't even be that good, so maybe even dropping Beast Caller as one of the 3 cuts. I think I'm a little too much of a coward to do that. Keep a 12 creature deck with Quirion Beast Caller. And I'm going to keep Urborg Repossession because we don't have a ton of finishers, so I want to be able to get these back if the game goes really long so I don't just mill out. Still play another way to win the game. I honestly think Codex Double Scatter would be a fine cut here. Maybe 1 Urborg Double Scatter or 1 Urborg Codex Scatter. Some combination of these cards. Bite Down's actually a lot worse now. I cut 1 Bite Down before I cut one of these Codas, or one of these Urborgs. I think I really want to keep this Codex. I'm going to cut 1 Urborg, 1 Scatter. Although Urborg does feel better than the Essence Scatters. You know what? I'm gonna have 3 Urborgs and 2 Essence Scatters, and I guess that's where we're gonna be here. Really don't know how I feel about this. Oops, I just put the wrong card back in. But some combination of these colors is definitely the best thing we can do. The only color pair where we really have a way to win the game is green, or the only color where we really have a way to win the game is green. We've got these kind of finishers. Our other colors, we could try to go for a more aggressive deck and just win the game with 2 drops and 3 drops, but don't have a massive amount of those and don't have any particularly great ones. Like this, we're still sorting by creatures, so I mean you can look at every other color's creatures here, and it just feels like every other color's a lot worse at actually killing our opponent. We have 6 total white creatures. Actually a decent amount of black ones, but most of them are pretty filler. Same with red. I think this is probably the best place to be. I just don't know if this is the best build in these colors, but it is the build I'm going to go with here. We have 4 black sources for our 4 black cards. We have 7 green sources for our 11 green cards. I probably want to up the green sources here. Maybe even go 18 lands, 41 cards total. That'll up our percentage of lands by a little bit. Currently we have 7 blue sources as well. Definitely need more green sources than blue sources because of the double green on Baloth and Ancient. Not sure I have room for another black source in this deck. Do we drop down to 8 green and 6 blue? I think we do. I'm not in love with that because I do like holding up a scatter on 2 if I've got an impulse in hand. But I think it's where I'm at here. That's going to be the mana base. And this is going to be the weird deck here. We're going to cross our fingers and kind of hope for the best, see how it plays out. Alright, here we are now in game 1 of round 1. We are on the play as well. See how it goes for us. We've got decent mana here. We need to hit more. Definitely need to hit more lands, but I can hold up an Essence Scatter. When you look at the rest of the hand, it's a 4 mana play, 5 mana play, and a 7 mana play. Not sure I can keep a 2-lander with cards this expensive, especially when I can't cast Urborg currently. I'm gonna mulligan that. This is the same hand, with a black source instead of a green, which is even worse. Oh, wow. Yeah, this one is very, very bad. If I hit a green source, I drop Badger. Urborg to survive. If I make it to turn 4, Prodigy brings me back in the game pretty well. Can I mulligan to 5 here? This is so rough. I think I'm going to mulligan to 5. This is the worst of all 3 hands. Not going to mulligan to 4. Vine Wall into my 3rd land for these 2 cards. Just drop these 7 or 8 drop. Or drop both of them. Actually, Codex is slow enough. I'm probably going to need Sojourner more if I make it to 5 mana. Well, this might be a predestined loss. I guess I should have kept one of the first 2 hands. But they were not good. Alright, here we go. Vine Wall for the land. Geothermal Bog is a strictly better swamp for domain purposes, but I want to be able to play a 3-drop next turn. Just immediately. Want to just Phyrexian Espionage and draw more lands, hopefully. While we're not under any pressure. If I immediately hit the land, I may Badger first. Yeah. Possible I can kick a Phyrexian Espionage now if I draw a 4 mana or less card to play next turn. I'll just play that. And if I make it to 5 mana, we kick the Espionage. So opponent has cycled a Herd Migration to get a land out of their deck and gain some life, and drop a Hexbane Tortoise. Things are a little awkward here where I could just cast Espionage now instead of playing absolutely nothing this turn. But I think I want to grind out maximum value. We're again under no pressure. We can play this game really slow. So I am going to play the game slow and get the maximum amount of value out of all my spells that I can. Try to make up for the mull to 5 by having this be a 3-for-1 where we draw 2 and our opponent goes down 1 card. So we will wait till we can kick that. If I'm just getting beaten down here and I really need to hit more stuff to play immediately, I'm all for dropping Espionage as soon as possible, but it's a pretty slow format, and this is definitely a game that is looking nice and slow for now. No real pressure in either direction. Alright, opponent thought for a very long time. Now they're going to drop a Mountain and an Elvish Hydromancer. Well, they are probably some kind of 5-color pile. If they've got a Hydromancer in there, that would require a blue kicker to be particularly good. And we've already seen white, green, and red mana. I can kick this Phyrexian Espionage or just drop the Sojourner. Now they have enough creatures, I do want to just drop Sojourner. They've still got plenty of cards in hand to discard to an Espionage later. There's a Crystal Grotto, letting them scry 1 to the bottom, and providing whatever color of mana they need. They'll play a Miria's Outrider to shoot us in the face for 3 and get a 4/4 reach on their board. Let's kick the Phyrexian Espionage now. Drawn to a Tachiova. Very nice. Alright, opponent just discards a forest, so unfortunately they just had extra lands to drop. Green and blue are the main colors, so I'll just get another island down. Next turn we need to make sure to play Tachiova before we play our land, so we'll turn the land into a creature. They're going to go ahead and tap the Sojourner, attack with the squad. That is problematic. I think I blocked the ward creature. It's probably a trick here too. Well, at least no trick, but we are down to 10. That is pretty painful. I get to hold up a tribute to Urborg after I drop this Tachiova, which is very nice. Can't kick it. It would just be -3/-3 kicked, so I think it's a little unfortunate. Alright. I guess I could kick it to shoot the drawbridge so I can hold Sojourner up as a blocker. But if they tap down Sojourner, I can still block Outrider with a 3/3 and Urborg and kill the Outrider instead. Which may actually be worth it. Ten life here. I don't really want to attack with the swamp. Or tap the swamp at all, ideally. Which I'd have to do for tribute to Urborg. I'd have to tap the swamp. I think I'm just gonna pass. They're gonna drop their land per turn. They still have 2 cards in hand. They are going to tap the Sojourner. Send in the Miria's Outrider, and that is it. Going to block it and attempt to tribute to Urborg. Might as well kick it. We do get the tribute off. The Miria's Outrider is dead. Barkweave Crusher does not kill Tachiova, and we've drawn a second tribute to Urborg. Now we just try to take over this game with the Tachiova lands. Could kill the drawbridge here. It's actually probably better than killing any of the other two at this point, so let's do it. While they're tapped out, they can attack with the Barkweave Crusher. If they enlist the Hydromancer, it'll attack as a 5/5, which is still not big enough to break through my Yavimaya Sojourner. Heirloom Battle Hymn, pretty nice draw there. Going to keep us from hitting them with the lands, and now we are in a top deck war. I have the better board state by a little bit, but not a ton. Tolarian Geyser is a fine draw. I definitely don't want to bounce the Hydromancer, but if I bounce the Crusher, I can actually get a fine attack in this turn. Ooh, especially drawing into another creature to play. Offer the trades here, get 7 damage in. Trade it is. Drop a Soaring Drake. Yavimaya Sojourner from my opponent, big old 4/6. Probably hit with a Drake. I could hit with a Forest as well. They're going to scoop them up. That is going to be too much for them. I'm pretty happy with how the deck did overall. I liked everything here. I don't think there's anything I'm going to side out or side in. But I do have a lot of options since I'm touching 3 different colors of cards here. Well, they're just going to scoop the match. They may have had something they needed to go do. There was a part that I edited out. Well, I assume I've edited it out. I haven't edited anything yet. But I think Future Gauntlet is going to edit out. There was a portion there where they roped like 2 hourglasses early in that game. And I didn't think they had too much to think about, so maybe they were busy with something else they had to go do. And they just have to leave the round now, unfortunately. But I think we were in a pretty good position to naturally win that game eventually. Our opponent could have still drawn out of it. You never know, but I think we were in the lead there, so who knows. 1-0 to start off this traditional sealed event. Here we are now in round 2. 10 looks pretty unkeepable as well. We only have 6 blue sources in the deck, so we can't really rely on drawing one very quickly here. We know we get to play a Sunbathing Rootwalla at least, but I feel like this is probably a mulligan here. This is great mana outside of the fact that we've got one of our Tribute to Urborgs in hand. I think I'm going to keep this anyway. Don't have any double blue cards, so we'll keep this and drop an island and see where it goes from here. When it starts with a forest, we draw a Sunbathing Rootwalla. So we can drop our Quirion Beastcaller and then play Rootwalla the turn after. I won't be holding up Essence Scatter, but I don't think I can just sit here and scatter their like 3-drop. Let's get an actual aggressive start to this game if we can. Opponent is on green, black, and white into Deathbloom Gardener. Well, we will definitely go ahead. Probably going to hold this Tachiova. I usually like to hold Tachiova till as close to 7 lands as possible to give my opponent less opportunities to find removal for her. So we're going to play Sunbathing Rootwalla here to get the counter on Beastcaller. Send that thing in. We're going to immediately go for the trade, which is fine. We'll keep them off of their ramp and still keep that +1/+1 counter around. It is definitely nice. Could have gotten greedy there and waited till I drew one of my 4 black sources so I could tribute to Urborg with the Death Toucher. But odds are soon enough they're just going to play a 3/3 or 4/4 blocker anyway that would trade with the Beastcaller. So I'm pretty fine with that attack. Especially since we only have one other creature in our hand. Guardian of New Benalia is pretty threatening. Luckily it only blocks as a 2/2. So I think I just send Rootwalla in. We're dealing more damage than they deal. Unless they use a trick here. They could kill Rootwalla with a trick. Suppose that's what they've got. Battle Rage Blessing, and I cannot counter that. Alright, well that's pretty rough. Still don't love dropping Tachiova down. I think I'm just going to hold up Essence Scatter here, because as long as Guardian of New Benalia is the only creature on their board, we don't have to worry about the Enlist ability and all the extra nonsense it might be able to do. So I kind of just want to Essence Scatter whatever their next play is. And we're also playing around removal against Tachiova in the process. Griffin Protector, sure, that's more than big enough to scatter. Nicely sized flyer. Alright, so that is going to go into their grave instead of resolving. We draw a Molten Tributary. Now I am 2 more lands away till Tachiova does anything. I am who knows how many lands away from Urborg and 2 lands away from my next creature. Probably have to play Tachiova, hope they don't have removal, and then I can actually block Guardian of New Benalia. If they do have removal, at least it'll mean they'll have 1 less removal spell to hit Mossbeard Ancient with. So even if Tachiova draws removal, we have another threat to play after Tachiova, so it won't be the end of the world. Elfame Worm is kind of the end of the world. That is going to kill us really quickly. Especially alongside that Guardian of New Benalia. Yeah, that is really rough. Sojourner would have been a great draw if they didn't have Guardian of New Benalia, but since they do, Sojourner's not actually going to block well here. They can enlist the Worm to the Guardian and attack with a 7/2 that all they have to do to give it indestructible is discard a land from their hand. So we actually just don't have a viable blocker for this Guardian, we just need the Black Source for tribute. Ooh, and a Jodas Codex as well for my opponent to try to take over the game with card draw. That is bad. They are now in the lead in multiple facets, and whatever's in their hand is unfortunately good, because they are not choosing to attack with Guardian of New Benalia, which means they don't want to discard what's in their hand. This is looking pretty bad here. And this game definitely showing off the biggest argument against throwing in tribute to Urborgs. Even a 3-mana 3/2 Ward Little Tortoise thing would be infinitely better than a card that sits in your hand uncastably. That is really frustrating. They've got the Mind Rot as well for us when we're stuck off the Black Source. Seems like a good draw there. 1 mana away from the Mossbeard Ancient. But yeah, this is one of the big reasons I really don't like splashing for a color that doesn't have decent support in terms of dual lands or other fixing, because you just get hard punished in games like this. That could have been like a Zaro Janin if I was splashing the white. All that stuff. Well, I mean, we definitely play the 7th land. Pretty unhappy about recent occurrences here, and our odds of winning are drastically low. Facing a Jodas Codex popping off. I was going to say, I do have an Urborg Repossession in this deck, but we have not drawn any of our 4 black sources yet, so that would actually be a really bad draw. So, forget I ever said that. Hopefully we don't draw an Urborg Repossession right now. Because I was just thinking it'd be spicy, pick up an Ancient and probably Root Walla over Beast Caller at this point in the game. But we can't actually cast it still, so would not be ideal. That is super nasty. Herd migration for 3/3/3s, probably game ending. Although I guess I'll have a decent amount of 3/3s of my own. Espionage to draw 2. It's a fine auto tap. So I'll just roll with it. There's our own codex for later, can't do it right now. I don't know if there's gonna be a later as well. I mean, they have not been attacking with this Guardian of Dominaria at all, so maybe there will be a later. I guess that just means they're drawing straight gas, literally not a single card they've wanted to discard to the Guardian to get in for 7. And there's Urborg Repossession for my opponent. So I didn't get punished for mentioning it in the way that I thought I would, where I would top deck it without a black source. I got punished by my opponent getting it. Very good card here. Picks up Griffin Protector and Deathbloom Gardener. They don't get to draw a card off their codex this turn. That's kind of a thing. I can draw a card off of this codex if I tap my flyer. Is it worth playing that instead of a Prodigy for the turn? Honestly, yeah, 2/2 on the ground isn't going to do us a whole lot of good. So we'll just get the codex to start moving. I've actually still somehow drawn more cards than my opponent right now. 22 cards in my deck versus 23 in theirs. Alright. I have no idea how that happened. Maybe they're running... Oh, they might be running more than 40 cards. Might have some self-mill. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. No, they're just running... They're running 41. Yeah, they're running 41. Shouldn't be that big of a disparity. Maybe they like mulliganed a lot and I just didn't realize. Citizen's Arrest. That's pretty brutal. Get the Sojourner. Now they get to attack in with everybody and we're dead in like 2 swings. Yeah, we're dead incredibly quickly here. That's just game. I mean, I guess I'll play it out, but 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, that's straight up. We're dead in 2 turns, 100%. No matter what. Well, the Black Splash is looking particularly horrible this game. It's an Impulse now. I think we scoop them up here rather than showing my opponent any more cards. The awkward thing is I feel like I still need the Black Splash in this matchup. Because being able to kill Guardian of New Benalia is huge, but they didn't really use it like at all. Maybe they just won't use it again. I kind of want to bring in Negate for Herd Migration. It's also fine against Sabotage, Battle Rage Blessing, Urborg Repossession. Negate actually looks pretty good in here. Maybe I could just drop the Black Splash to add in more blue counters. Up the scatters and negates and stuff. Negate's also really good against the Codex. We don't have a Broken Wings in this sealed pool, so we don't have anything that'll destroy the Codex outside of a red card smashed to dust. I guess I have 2 red sources, but that'll give me the exact same problem I had with the Black Splash, potentially. I guess I throw Carplucent Forest in here. That's 3 red sources immediately. But then the Smash to Dust is really just to kill 1 card. They don't have any defenders. They don't have any 1 toughness creatures. Just against Codex specifically. Seems too narrow. So I don't even think that's worth it. 14, 15, 17. This is 17. This is an 8-8 split on mana, and we've upped our blue cards quite a bit. Throw in 1 more blue card. I guess we could throw in the Timely Interference. Or just throw in a random green creature. Or an exact even green-blue split. Throw in a Tortoise or something, I guess. We're throwing a Bite down since we just cut all the black removal. Sure. Yeah. I'll push into just green-blue here. Since I'm already going to be... I already want the negate in this matchup anyway, so I'm going to be upping the blue count a bit already. And I think Scatter's pretty good in this match too. I guess it's not as good. Not great. I mean, it's good against the Worm. Their own Sojourner. I think they played one. Actually not in love with the Scatters. I want to drop a Scatter for a random Tortoise just to up that creature count. Definitely want negate in here, and very sad about the Black Splash's performance, which is kind of results-oriented thinking and not thinking probabilistically. But I don't know. I know negate's going to be good in here, so I'm at least happy about that addition. Alright, we'll keep this. We start things off on turn 3, which is a little slow, but at least we're on the play. Opponent takes a mulligan. At least one thing's for sure here, we should almost guaranteed have no mana issues this game. Being a 2-color deck. Opponent is deciding if they want to mulligan a second time here. They are not going to. Alright, well now I have a potential turn 2 play if they try to drop their Banalish Knight. They did not. Drop the Tortoise here. I have a Geyser to bounce. A thing. If something particularly grievous ends up on the board, I'll make sure to hold on to Geyser until I can cast it and Scatter in the same turn. Well, land draw would have been incredible for Prodigy, but instead I'll just be impulsing here. I could Geyser the Gardener and hope to draw land and just hit for 3. Slow them down, get another chance to. A little greedy, but I'm going for it. There we go. Beautiful. Never didn't have it. Rewarded, never punished. Llanowar Loam Speaker, another mana dork. That one can also get them attacking with their lands as 3/3s. Very strong rare to go along with their Knight of Dominaria. And Phyrexian Missionary in their deck. Woo! At least we got that out of the way without it drawing them an extra card. Missed a land drop again here. I could Impulse for it. Or I could Vine Shaper Prodigy for it. If I Vine Shaper Prodigy, I'm not holding up for an Essence Scatter, and a 2/2 is again not very good on this board state of a bunch of 3/3s, 1/3s, and 2/3s. So I think I'm just impulsing for the land main phase. Oh, that's pretty devastating. We're about to put a Techiova on bottom. I don't think I can justify taking Techiova here. I already have a Yavimaya Sojourner and an Ancient late game. Need more mana for these cards. Yes, the justification for taking Tachyovas. I still have all the mana I need to hold up my Essence Scatter. And Tortoise can trade in the Missionary. I'm gonna take this land. Sorry, Tachyova. This will not be a Tachyova game. There's a Griffin Protector. Nothing to deal with flying here, let's just deal with it. With the Essence Scatter. Land drops a Sojourner down if we get it. I guess if it's a tapped land, we'll have to just Espionage this turn or something. Send the Missionary. I think I'll just trade. I have an Urborg Repossession, though, for the Missionary. That's going to be pretty devastating, but... this Missionary's going to die at some point anyway. I guess I can wait on it. We're trying to get a 4-6 down next turn, and then Tortoise doesn't have to trade into such a small creature. I'm not hitting the lands naturally. We're having to spend draw spells every time. Now I'm going to have to Prodigy here. I feel like Prodigying is better than Espionage because we dig 3 cards deep instead of 2 cards deep. And I'm just going to play a land this turn no matter what I hit. So I'll just pull a land out. Like, I'm not going to pick a non-land card here unless I have no other option. Could threaten Essence Scatter by holding up a blue source. Sure. Do have more green pips in the hand. Would I block a land if they attack with it? I'd block a land if they attack me with a 3/3 land, but I'm not going to block Missionary yet again, so... I think I actually attack with the Tortoise. I don't really expect them to attack with a land here. No, maybe they will. Uh-oh. Trick? I don't remember what tricks they had. I'm already... my mind has been wiped. Men in Black brought out the Mind Wiper. Alright, well they did not play that last game, I know that for sure. So, that will just get us. 1-for-1 trade though. Colossal Growth for a Hexbane Tortoise. It's not a terrible deal for us. There's the Codex. They have got the first Codex down. Now we know their whole hand though, and it's a 1/3, a 2/3, and a 1/1 Death Touch. So again, we're not currently going to be under that much pressure. It's just the problem is that they're going to start drawing cards faster than us now. Take maybe 5 damage maximum next turn. And play Codex. Taking 5 maximum next turn if they activate a land and attack me with it. But again, they've missed doing that every single turn, so I don't know where they would start now. Oh, they didn't miss doing it this turn. They just wanted to activate Codex. Do not realize they have enough. Yeah, I guess 3 makes it cost only 2. We would love to hit one of our dual lands here. We've got 3 in the deck that'll reduce this Codex's cost. We'll see. Alright, yeah, we're still not going to take any land damage, so just 2 damage the turn. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Again, it's 41 cards. I don't know. I guess I have Impulse, I have Tolarian Geysered. Okay. I have Vine Shaper Prodigy. There we go. That's a draw. That's a huge draw. Codex costs us 1 mana now, and Sojourner only costs us 4. So we play the Sojourner, we have a blocker, and we can start using Codex. Yep. Don't believe I have any 1 mana plays in the deck, so I don't need to Codex right now. I can do it during their end step. Now we've got a game. We've got a Codex versus Codex war. Citizen's Arrest on our first blocker's rough, but I've got Mossbeard Ancient coming soon enough. Ideally, once I hit another untapped land, so I can still Codex the turn I play it. Vortuck Bone Rattle. Woof, we did not see all their bombs, that is for sure. Vortuck Bone Rattle, similar to Tachova in power level, I would say. Huge value swing every time you play it, especially if you have enough domain to immediately get the creature back on board. Luckily, they couldn't get the creature back on board, they just got it back to their hand. So it's not as fast and as brutal as it could be. But Vortuck Bone Rattle wins games. I would try very hard to play that in any sealed pool I opened it in. Almost along the lines of how highly I'd try to play a rare, like a powerful rare. Can Espionage make them discard a card, but we don't know what their non-protector card is. If I do that, I only have 2 mana up here, so I just play a 2/2. I kind of need a big blocker, at least a 4/5. So I kind of want to play Baloth here, because it's big enough to block Bone Rattle. And I can still draw a card for the turn. There's the Griffin Protector. It's going to be the biggest problem they have against us right now, because we cannot block that thing, since it's in the sky. Captain's Call. Sure. That's pretty fine. I'm very happy they go for that now instead of waiting and just getting extra Griffin Protector damage. I guess the idea is they get extra damage with the soldiers, but now I just need to probably skip a turn of Codex just to go as wide as I can next turn. Play a variety of creatures onto the board. Alright, no attacks. We'll draw our card off Codex. Molten Tributary, Sunbathing Root Walla. I can spend 4 mana for Prodigy and still spend 3 on Badger. As greedy as I want to be making them discard their last card in hand here, I feel like I need to widen the board against all these soldiers. So I think I kick a Prodigy and play a Badger. Hope Prodigy can hit an untapped land again. It can, but there's also a bite down to get rid of the flyer. Probably have to actually take bite down. The nice part about the bite down is now I guess I'm playing bite down and drawing a card for the turn. Probably do it while they're tapped out. And pass. Alright, we're doing good on the clock. They're playing slower than us. So we don't have to worry. If we can win this game, we don't have to worry about timing out before them in game 3. I was just double checking that because I was being pretty methodical with the prodigies and stuff. Thinking for quite some time. Just wanted to make sure I'm not putting extra pressure on the clock if we make it to game 3. So I can start playing a little faster. But it'll involve me explaining a little less because that takes brain energy too. And that is why I do tend to play a lot slower while recording.
Like it's multitasking while you play. 6, 7, 8, 9. We're definitely playing the big stuff. Got 16 cards, they've got 21. I have to worry about milling out now. I need to be able to close out the game. Maybe Bog Badger is a win condition later. I like Mossbeard Ancient hold up an Essence Scatter. Seems pretty solid to me. Could even start using Linebreaker Baloth once we get a wide enough board state. We can definitely use Linebreaker Baloth as a win condition. The only creature they have that can block it is Bortuk. Scatter the Worm. And that'll remain the same. Only creature that can block it is Bortuk. Still have 16 cards left in my deck. Don't think I'm worried enough about milling out yet to stop using Codex when I have the mana. Writhing Necromass. Well, that kind of changes that. It's not expecting them to immediately draw and cast a better creature than the 5/4 Vigilance Trample. It's kind of rough. Espionage seems pretty good this turn, but again, I'm drawing 2 cards, which is kind of scary on the mill fronts. But I think it's worth it. There's a Beast Caller. Alright, they just have a land here, so we go Beast Caller, then Root Walla, then a land, so I could use Codex again. I do have to worry about milling. We're probably actually going to mill out here, because Tachiova's on the bottom of our deck in a random order, so she could be the very last card. But now I can't really get through a Necromass. Like, I can have this Mossbeard Ancient game plan, or this Linebreaker Baloth game plan, enlisting the Ancient to be attacking with an 11/5 that they can't block with their chump blockers. But now they just have a Death Toucher they can block with, so they can kill the Baloth. This is a game we're actually just massively punished for cutting the Black Splash now, because that's just kind of how my life is going in this format. Game 1 will get heavily punished for splashing black, and Game 2 I'll get heavily punished for cutting the Black Splash. Because this game, if I had the Black Splash, I'd have 3 more removal spells in the deck to clear out things like Necromass, plus the very nice late game Urborg Reclamation. Yeah, this is rough. I don't actually think I can win now. I think I mill out. I really want to hold this Badger so I can give Menace later, but even Menace is not actually going to do all that much, I don't think. Because they can still block with Bone Rattle and Necromass. I have no more removal in the deck, so I'm not going to get rid of Bone Rattle or Necromass. If I attack with a big Root Waller or an Ancient, they're just going to block with Deathbloom Gardener. I actually just think our deck doesn't have enough win conditions without the Recursion now to close this game out. Unfortunate. Our opponent can afford to keep drawing cards for another 3 times to get more blockers and lock us out of getting anything done here. Negate that Herd Migration. Well, the negate did kind of pop off here. That's nice. At least there is that. At least that sideboard edition has worked out. I'm going to start holding lands at this point in case Tachiova is not the literal bottom card of my deck. Then maybe we have a tiny chance. If it's number 4. I guess it's 3 of them, so it'd be 3rd from the bottom. 11 to 13. They can still draw more cards. Griffin Protector, great. Now I'm actively just dying again. I mean, we're just outclassed by this deck. It's just how it feels in this format for me. I don't know why. It feels like my sealed pools are just constantly outclassed. Again, the biggest thing I could have done here is not cut the Black Splash. Outside of that, though, their deck it's just better. Their cards are just better. They've got more efficient removal in their pool. More 2-for-1s with cards like Bortuk Bone Rattle and Phyrexian Missionary. More rares like Guardian Benalia and Llanowar Loam Speaker. Feels bad. We have 9 cards and they have 10. They can draw one more because we draw before they do. So they will draw the one more off the Codex. If we could win this game, I don't think we have an out to win this game, but if we could win this game, their clock is low enough that we could win to time game 3 if it's another grinder like this. How sick would it be if Joda's Codex said target player draws a card? It'd be just nuts. I'm gonna play tapped lands, but I'll hold all the basics. Drawn their Codex card. I guess we could mill them out if I can survive. They have 7 cards left. Okay, I don't know if we can survive, though. Oh my god. If I draw one more card here, I am once again losing the mill plan. But I feel like I need to impulse here. We are very quickly dying to the flyers. See if I have a scatter left in my deck. I guess that also moves Techova up. Oh, it does get Techova. Wait, did I impulse another time? How's Techova that high up? She was the top of the bottom 4. Wait, no? Wait, what? Did I impulse another time? I impulsed. Techova ended up in the bottom 3. Now, somehow, she's 3 from the top? Out of 8 cards? I don't understand. I still just lose at this point. Oh, his Vine Shaper Prodigies do the same thing. Oh, wow, I should have been playing my draw more aggressively then. I did not realize she was going to be that high up. We had a chance here. So we know exactly the order. There is an Essence Scatter soon, but not soon enough. Oh, wow. Oh my god. I didn't realize that these Vine Shapers were tucking things in the bottom as well. That's so brutal. We had a shot here. Pretty sure it's all gone now. Just don't have enough blockers at this point. Especially in the sky. Well, that's definitely something new to learn for, that I can keep in mind during the big events that actually matter, like qualifier weekends and stuff. That's so irritating, though. God, I hate making misplays like that. Or I'm like Techova's bottom four, so it doesn't matter, but I was actually tucking other things on the bottom without realizing it. Oh, that's obnoxious. I'm gonna counter that just so they can't attack with Protector this turn. They're down to 5 cards, we're down to 5 cards. I mill out first by doing that, but I just die first if I don't do that. Still attacking with Griffin Protector. This might mean a trick and I'm just dead. I'm just dead if I chump block also. Because then I'd have no... I can't double block Acolyte next turn. Yep. I just have another trick here anyway. That's so beyond tilting. That we had an out here that I didn't know. And yeah, if we won that game, we would have won the match almost guaranteed. They're down to under 10 minutes on the clock. In one of the grindiest matchups we've had. That's frustrating. That round definitely could have been a win. Definitely one of those mistakes that is not particularly repeatable. That's going to stick in your memory. Remember that in a deck with Impulse, if you're playing multiple Impulses, or if you're playing Vine Shaper Prodigies, you're actually bringing the first cards you impulsed away higher up in the deck. Putting a bunch of stuff below them to where Tachiyova was actually pretty high up there for a later Impulse. Well, you lose some and you learn some. We'll definitely keep that in account in the future. 1-1. Here we are now, round 3. We're on the play, turn 2 Root Wall. We've got an Impulse of Vine Wall if we need more lands to get to the Line Breaker Bailoff. Definitely keep this hand. We're back to the default build of this deck that I made that does have the Black Splash, so we'll see how that works out for us this game. Not great, that's how so far. Another Vine Wall or Impulse here. I already have 5 mana for Bailoff, so I don't really need to pull out another land right now. I think I'd rather Impulse. Although Vine Wall could get a tapped land, could get our Black Source just in case. I don't know, I'll Vine Wall. I'll beat myself up though if something's great is in the top 6. Nothing particularly great, that's fine. No good lands there, though. None of our black sources. None of our duels, either. Mana Worker coming down. Oh, we are flooding a bit here. But we can buff this Root Wall to kill this Mana Worker if they block. So at least there's that. If they don't, I think I am just going to Impulse. I'm just going to do it sorcery speed in case I hit a 2-drop creature I really want to play. Yeah, I think that'll do it. don't want to take a repossession without a black source, and I don't want to take a black source with no black cards to play anyway, so I think I'm taking Beast Caller. I mean, it's between Beast Caller and the black source. I definitely don't want to take repossession without a black source. If I take the black source, then my 3 Tribute to Urborg are active, if I draw into any of those. But we're just going to go for the better immediate play. It gives us more to do in the here and now than speculating on our future draws. Karn's Silex. Well, that's going to be devastating, as a Karn's Silex for 2, of course. We'll draw the black card now that I didn't speculate on drawing into a black card. Okay, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure this is going to be a snap block on the Beast Caller. Because even if I have a combat trick, you would just snap that block off, since the plan is to Karn's Silex the board away anyways. The mana worker is already not long for this world, and that way you might pull out a combat trick from my hand to kill as well. Got a nice late game Mossbeard Ancient. Actually just cast that next turn. Our opponent is on green, white, blue, and black. Green, white, blue for sure. Okay, that's definitely all 4 colors. I was going to say green, white, blue for sure, but technically the black source could have just been for domain, but there's a natural swamp there, so it's definitely not just for domain. Opponent is at 8 here. They've taken a lot of damage, and now we've got a pretty large board. They've got 5 cards in their hand to play around with, though. But we're doing our thing. We're beating down. We're playing win conditions. Elvish Hydromancer play another Magnagoth Sentry. That's rough. That's not good at all. They can double block the Ancient and only lose one of the 4/4s. They can double block my Linebreaker Baloth with a 4/4 and a 3/2 and still have a 4/4 left behind, but it's definitely our play here. Linebreaker Baloth and List is looking pretty nice this next turn. Being able to kill 2 of their creatures instead of just one of them in combat. So this is, they're tapped out, so it's just snap block 4/4/3/2 here. And that is the play that they go for. If I had the black source for tribute, that would have been a really great opportunity to just devastate them with it yet again. Niall, so they have a flyer and they had another Magnagoth Sentry, so now we just can't get in with Mossbeard anyway. At least we can lock off their Niall from hitting us. I'm holding these lands in case I hit Techova. Knight of Dusk's Shadow, that's pretty solid. They have 2 black sources, so they can double pump it. There's a black source for the Geothermal Bog, or for the Tribute to Urborg. It is a Geothermal Bog. So that'll be good. It won't be incredible because it's only -3/-3, but it's still enough to try to get a cheese attack in with a Mossbeard Ancient, maybe. Well, now I can bounce a Sentry and then send in the Mossbeard Ancient. The attack definitely looks a lot less suspicious that way. Ooh, and we've got an Essence Scatter too? Might have to play a land to hold that up.
Pump the Knight. Pump the Knight. Pump the Knight. Nine minus 3 is 6. Yeah, this is gonna crush them. Oh, I can actually, it's minus, because I played Geyser, it's actually just -4/-4. But yeah, it's still pretty dang good. And then the scatter for their Magnagoth to keep this board small so the Ancient gets in again. Still going to be pretty devastating. Oh, they're just going to scoop them up. They're not even going to roll out the Sentry there. They're over it. 1-0 in round 3 so far. I think I'm running it back. We can take another look at the board state here. I don't really see anything super particular outside of Karn's Silex. I don't think I'm going to put in a gate in for the one non-creature spell they cast all game. Yeah, it still looks like a pretty high creature count versus non-creature, so negate could be a very dead card in hand. I think I'm just running it back here. Oh. Yep. Just roll back in. This is what they call a bad hand. I have more green sources than any other. I've got 8 in the deck and I'm on the draw. I know I have Tribute to Urborg up and any land gives me a Soaring Drake as well. I can get rid of the double green card here. Probably supposed to get rid of Urborg Repossession because it's not playable until very late in the game. I think I'm going to keep this because I'm on the draw. Get rid of the Urborg Repossession. I don't know, even just repossessing Vineshaper is pretty spicy. But I digress. Let's get rid of the repossession, like I was saying. Got a Badger on 3 if I can make it to the green source by then. Impulse is an incredible draw for us. I'll do that in the end step here, just in case I need to tribute to Urborg something. Maybe they play the Knight again. Alright, there's green sources. That's exactly what I needed. So I will take it. Joda's Codex for later in the game. We'll play a Bog Badger for now. Like it a little better on the empty board than Soaring Drake, but maybe it's supposed to be Soaring Drake because they play any creature and the Badger's probably blocked. But Magnagoth Sentry, the card that we saw 2 copies from them last game, can block anything we play. Send in for 3. Oh, that would have been really cool if I just got 3 damage in for free, but we'll tribute. I was actually going to be really happy whatever happened there. I was particularly hoping that they would just let it in and then I'd play a Soaring Drake and it would have been sweet. Alright, I'll just hold up an Essence Scatter here. Don't really need to do anything right now. Just gonna keep hitting them for damage. Yep, there they go. The 1-for-1 Karn's Silex. Feels good. Let's draw a land here off this Vineshaper Prodigy. Help get to 7 mana. Not holding up an Essence Scatter now, which is a bit rough. Salvage Mana Worker, that is perfectly fine. Now I've got 6 out of 7 mana. don't have the mana to play much and hold up Essence Scatter at the same time. Can't really play anything and hold up Scatter, because I only have one blue source. So at that rate, if the only thing I'm going to do is hold up Scatter, then I think I should actually just play like a Linebreaker Realoth or something. Because I just straight up can't hold up Essence Scatter this turn. Maybe even a Codex? Green, blue, red, black? Yeah, Codex takes over the game. Just live the value dream. We're not under any pressure right now, so let's make sure that we just have infinite cards to keep slamming down win conditions. It's gonna happen every time I don't hold up an Essence Scatter, isn't it? Something like that. Got a Tolarian Geyser in here somewhere still. Don't have the 7th land for Tachiova. I think I have to draw the card right now. Do have the 7th land for Tachiova now. I'm not going to hold up a second Essence Scatter. I guess they could play their Elvish Hydro thing. If they have that one specific card in their hand, it'll be bad for me to not hold up Scatter, but otherwise I think I just want to get as much power on this board as quickly as possible so I have a chance at trading into the Defiler. They Hydromancer this Defiler though, I'm just going to have just horrible flashbacks to yesterday's traditional Sealed where that happened to me there as well. I have yet to cast a Defiler Vigor. I have certainly gotten got by some Defiler Vigors. Okay, just a flyer. Yeah, I mean, I think Tachiova just outraces this thing. Honestly. More lands? I mean, that's fine. Holding up an Essence Scatter. Go to 5. Alright, I'll play a Soaring Drake and hold up an Essence Scatter then. Very lethal in the sky next turn if Tachiova does not die. If Tachiova dies, we only have Soaring Drake as a flyer, which is not big enough to attack into the Connoisseur. So that would be the worst case scenario for us, is if our opponent does have the removal to kill Tachiova now. King Darien is definitely worth an Essence Scatter. I mean, I guess it wouldn't have stopped our lethal, so maybe I should have just let it through? Either way, it's going to prompt the concession, but I think strictly speaking, I probably should have let it resolve. They're at 3 life because they paid 2 for Defiler? What was their plan here? Maybe this was just going to be the concession? Opponent's deck was good. Defiler Vigor and King Darien. Ooh, nice to beat that, but yeah, maybe I misplayed there. Maybe I should have just let it through. I don't know, maybe they had something really specific in hand that would somehow find lethal this exact turn if it resolved. I don't know. Well, we may not have any great rare bombs, but we do have Tachiova Steward of Tides, and we're trying to just ride her all the way to victory. Pretty much rare level power as a bomb. So it is not the worst sealed pool I've ever had. Having a Tachiova is a pretty big deal. And it's gonna get us 2 match victories, and we'll see how things go in round 4. We are 2-1 overall. This is awkward. I love that I have all of my mana, but I don't love that I have 5 lands. I think I'm still going to keep it here, but I'm not sure I'm supposed to. We're drawing well so far. That's 1 non-land card, and it's an Impulse, which lets us pull out whatever kind of card we need. Opponent starts with turn 1 Snare Spinner. That's super fine. Next draw is also incredible. A Phyrexian Espionage. Just keep giving us value. Take that 1 Snare Spinner damage. Opponent plays their land per turn. And they're going to pass, so we'll go ahead and Impulse. Don't need more lands, we'll take a Codex for later. Now we've got all kinds of stuff to play around with throughout this game, which feels very nice. Prodigy's going to be the turn 4 play. Might just get this Codex out turn 5. But I could see an Espionage instead. Immediate impact. Our opponent dropped a Phyrexian Rager. They are black, white, and green. Our creatures are doing pretty well at holding all this off of us. So we can play nice and slow here still. I think I'm going to take a second tribute to Urborg, honestly. Could take the big dork, but kind of like just having a ton of removal. Especially since I'll have 2 instants and sorceries in grave after I Espionage. The tributes will be -4/-4 apiece for killing things such as that 4/4. I think I'm going to go ahead and get a full value Espionage. I've got an Impulse to go alongside all these tributes. Make it even more of a minus if I need to. Good double block here. Run pretty hard into a combat trick, so I'm kind of cool to just take it for now. Still be at 15 life. Elfhame Worm. Tribute to Urborg can kill that. If I kick it. I think I will while they're tapped out. Because I do believe that my opponent has a potential trick in hand. Sojourner, well now we know there's no trick here. It's an easy snap block then. Kind of interesting they went for the attack with no mana up. I guess it's not that bad of a trade down, they still kill a 3/3. I can now afford to Codex and still hold up a Tribute. The Tribute won't be big enough to kill the Sojourner. It will if I Impulse and Tribute for the turn, which seems fine. 3 engrave, it's -5/-5 right now. Yeah, I think I'm just going to kill Sojourner again while they're tapped out. These are some good cards. I think I take the Mossbeard Ancient. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be Espionage or Repossession. Maybe it's Scatter, but I think I'm taking Mossbeard Ancient. Actually, maybe I should have taken Scatter here, because I really want to have a good excuse to get this Codex down. And if I pick the Scatter, I could just go Codex, hold up 2 for the Scatter. This is an okay trade, and then I can just play Mossbeard Ancient. Oh, wow. All tributes all day. I'm going to play the Ancient for the turn. Then I'll have enough mana. I've got so much mana here, I'll have enough to go land, Codex, and hold up Tribute to Urborg after this turn. But Knowledge Sleeper, that is very good on this board. That is rough. I'll make sure to play around that next game. Was not expecting that at all, seeing 1 source for my opponent. I expect white to be very much a splash here. But Knowledge Sleeper, not really up to the quality of card you generally splash. So they probably have more white than they drew this game, unfortunately. But yeah, I was expecting white to be splashed for just big late game cards like Phalanx, so it'll be a lot easier to play around Sleeper next game. But it hits me really hard, this one. Codex and kill the Baloth. I take 5, go to 10. Doesn't feel great, but I think it's my best play. Oh, they've got an Urborg repossession. Good draw. Speaking of good draws, my lord. They've got something instant speed in their hand here. I should have beast collared first. I missed out on a +1/+1 counter. Although now I can Elfhame Worm instead. Sorry, +1/+1 counters. I'm at 10 life and I want to get a big blocker. Don't think I'm sending this forest in. I am at the point where I want to block with it. This is going to buff both creatures. It would have to be the red spell if it's going to buff both creatures. That's a tribute to Urborg of their own. Alright. That went pretty fine. Beast Caller is going to be pretty spicy here. So I've got tons of creatures to drop. Alright, no Wrath effect, opponent, please. Alright, no Wrath effects. We are gonna get there. 1-0 to start it off. Need to play around Banalish Sleeper. I don't think there's anything I need to sideboard around. They're a pretty basic deck here. They played 2 non-creature spells all game. And they were impactful, but not impactful enough to run a negate when the percentage of creatures to non-creatures is very skewed towards creatures, like it is in your average limited deck. Meaning there will be tons of times negate is a dead card in hand, and it's not so incredibly incredible when it happens that it's worth the times when it's a dead draw. And that is our main sideboard card, so I don't think there's anything in particular I want to change about the deck here. I think I am going to run it back again. Definitely will keep this hand with Impulse in hand to get the 3rd land. Preferably a black source as well. That would be beautiful. Now I can hold up an Essence Scatter and cast Impulse. Very good draw. I'll scatter a Rager. It's a nice little 2-for-1, and I don't have great blocks in the early game right now. Now I just Impulse main phase to get the land. Geothermal Bog it is. That is our black source. Everything is working out pretty well so far, but I do really need to hit a next land. The 4th land is incredibly important because it gets us to the Vine Shaper, which draws us more cards, but we just naturally drew a way to draw more cards, so we'll do that instead. Ooh, that's devastating. Did not expect
to miss a land drop off of that. That's pretty brutal. Probably discard a creature with repossession in hand. Probably the most expensive one. We'll drop the Elfhame Worm. Snare Spinner now. Alright, there's the 4th land. No longer will have to discard. We could just play a 4/6, or I can draw a card right now. I've got plenty cards right now. Let's just get our biggest threats on the board. Get this game started. The Alphamaya Sojourner of their own, fair enough. Ooh, a Beast Caller now. I want to play that before I play any more creatures. So I think I'm on Beast Caller and Impulse. I think I'll actually Impulse right now in case I want to draw a land off of it. Don't have any instants to hold up anyway. I want to take this Tribute to Urborg. We have more than enough instants and sources engraved for this to be an incredible card. So I think it's worth missing the land here. We've got 4. So Tribute to Urborg is -6, -6. Coalition Sky Knight. Not a very big deal. We can kill that with an unkicked Tribute to Urborg, so I'm not very scared about it. It can hit us pretty hard right now if I don't kill it immediately. So maybe I will. We go Badger and then Tribute the Sky Knight. Yeah, that seems fine by me. Just don't worry about that thing. Writhing Necromass, that's a pretty big deal because it can attack into or block a Sojourner. It is probably our next Tribute to Urborg target. Could Vine Shaper Prodigy instead for now because I can actually block it fine. Bog Badger plus Prodigy. Just can't attack into it, so yeah. I'll Vine Shaper Prodigy. Grab an Essence Scatter. Like Essence Scatter with the instant and the Codex in hand. If I need more threats, I have Repossession to just pick up the pieces of... pick up the remnants of our early threats. If they hit an untapped land, we get to drop Codex and hold up the Scatter. Alright, not bad, not bad. There's an Elfhame Worm to worry about. Okay. Block that with a 4/6. I get to drop Codex and hold up Scatter. If I don't Scatter, I draw a card off Codex. Feels like Codex puts things on lock here. Codex a huge bomb in this sealed format. Pretty impactful. Make the Elfhame Worm a 6/5. Still double block and lose one creature. If they had any tricks, I would have expected they would have used one last combat to keep the Death Toucher around. They kill the Sojourner here. And if they do have tricks, I can trick them back with Tribute to Urborg, and that might be enough to stop the trick. Whatever it ends up being. Alright, so no Scatter that turn, so we'll draw the card. Another land is super fine by me, and another Tribute to Urborg at the ready. Okay. I'll have 5 mana up after I Repossession. Pick up a Bog Badger, because it's a 3 mana creature. I can play that and still hold up Scatter. I might Repossession and just not play a creature right now. But I do want to get Beast Caller to 5/5 stats, but I can just Tribute to Urborg the Sojourner and then they have no threats. So yeah, let's get this Tribute to Urborg out of the way. For sure.
or this Urborg Repossession out of the way. I think I want... And I'll just take the biggest threats. I have plenty of card draw with Codex. I don't need another Prodigy. Yeah, so I have 5 mana. I can't Sojourner and hold up Scatter, so I'm just going to pass here. And we will we'll Urborg the Sojourner and draw a card off Codex. Probably should have done it before they drew a card, so they couldn't draw into a pump spell. Might get punished for that here. It's -8, -8. They're going to blow up Codex. That's pretty fine. Still handedly winning the card advantage game by now. Has put us far ahead here. Yeah, they're just going to scoop them up. They know what's coming here. I'm guessing they have nothing in hand. So they have a 1/3 and a 2/2, and they know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana here, which is enough to cast Sojourner and Elfhame Worm, attack with a 6/6, have a 4/6, and 5/4 Vigilance Trample in backup, and 2 cards they don't know about. Pretty devastating swing of card advantage that game all around between Urborg Repossession, Joda's Codex, all the Vine Shaper Prodigies. Bring us far ahead there, so it's going to be a really great sealed run this time around. We're at least 3-1, and we're heading into the final boss win and lose, the final win or lose, the final round of Magic for the day. So really happy with this deck. I think it has performed pretty dang well. Little unhappy with my performance. I think we could have just been 4-0 right now if I had played out the round that we lost better, if I had just kept drawing cards, because I didn't realize how high Tachiova was going to be in our deck because we tucked other cards below her. I was still assuming she was like bottom 4, so we weren't going to draw her in time to do anything, but if I had kept codexing every single turn, I think I could have Tachiova'd early enough. But enough about that. On to the future. Stop looking at the past here. Let's see what happens in the final game of Magic. Whatever happens, I'm happy here. But it would be pretty sweet to get our first trophy run in a Dominaria United Sealed event. Alright, we are going to play first here. Great hand here, my lord. Probably the best hand we've had so far, just because the mana is beautiful. Our opponent does take a mulligan. This is a very good start for us. Great hand, and opponent has to take a mull. But you never know, I have had opponents come back from much worse. I have lost to several multi-4s in my lifetime. I have played a lot of Magic. Alright, opponent going to start with a Radiant Grove. Plenty of good lands here. I don't see the need to Vine Wall immediately. I'm going to get this Tributary out of the way. I guess I can play Tributary turn 4. Sure, yeah, that seems fine. I already have a black source and a red source. I only need 1 black source in this deck. I have 2 blue, 2 green already as well, though, but I don't really want to take another tap land. Tachiova's going to the bottom, but we'll put other cards below her with Impulse and stuff. Let's just get an untapped source and we'll get the green source, I think. It's their first Vine Wall of their own. We'll drop Badger this turn. Play it pretty quickly because I played that last turn pretty slow, so I'll try to keep that clock up. Whenever you put a clock on me, I get nervous because I'm not used to it. As I'm not an arena zoomer. I started in 2009, but I've just played so much arena, I've got the mindset of an arena zoomer. I'm not used to having the timer, the chess clock. Now we have a late game plan, and it is to play the big mossy boy. Oh my god. Llanowar Green Widow is a heck of a bomb, a 3-mana 4/3 reach trample that comes back from their graveyard one time. This card would be incredible if it never came back from grave, but because it does, it's 2 cards in 1. A disgusting 2 for 1. And it's not going to be very enjoyable for us. Even if I counter it, they can recast it from grave.
Do I just bounce it to hand to slow them down and get a hit in with Badger? Do I just impulse and we try to get towards our Mossbeard Ancient? I think I'm just going to get towards this Mossbeard Ancient. Golden Argosy, so if they get anything with a good enter the battlefield effect, they can start bouncing that thing. I have never found a good spot for Golden Argosy, but maybe our opponent has. Currently, the only thing that can crew it is the Green Widow, which doesn't do anything. And I guess they attack with a 3/6. That's something, but not something super important. Take a tribute to Urborg. Pick up a Vine Shaper Prodigy. We'll play that this turn then. Sojourner and Rootwall are both nice creatures. I think I'll take Sojourner though. Doesn't require any future mana commitment to remain large. You just put it on the board and it is big forever. Now we have a turn 6 play and a turn 7 play. I can even hold up the tribute after playing the Sojourner if I need it. Alright, well, crewing Argosy with the Mesa Cavalier is a thing. And they can crew with a 0 power creature if they crewed it with enough power. That's kind of wild. I did not know that's how it worked. Makes it a little better. Yeah, I guess you can crew it with a Vine Wall if you crew it with a different creature as well. Well, we might get Argosied here. I'm still gonna count this up as more Green Widow kind of beating us because it completely stopped us in our tracks. More than Argosy would have. We'll play the Sojourner. Argosy doesn't really get to do its thing anymore because we can block and kill it. So I guess that's the other thing about Argosy. It has no evasion. It is high toughness, but a lot of big stuff in this format, so you can stop it from popping off after an attack or two. Another Vine Wall, alright. Well, at least they're going to get big value off of it for its final swing. 2 extra lands off of it, and 2 more life. Citizen's Arrest. Well, still got Tribute to Urborg, so I can still beat the Argosy, but that is very unfun. Well, unfortunately with the way this is worded, the cards are going to come back no matter what, I'm pretty sure. It would be super cool if we killed the Argosy, the cards don't come back. That would be incredible. For me. Oh, they're going to keep the Cavalier up? Okay. I guess get a little more damage in this turn. $15 life. Unfortunate land here. We drop Ancient. It's a pretty easy play. Now I have to actually think about my line. So I was going to say we could attack both and then play Ancient and still be fine. I don't know if we can attack both anymore. Maybe I just Espionage. Got no more creatures to put on the board anyway. We're only getting rid of a land if we kick it, but that's still some value. Another tribute to Urborg to use on the flyer. So we are not taking any more damage. This is such a grindy format, it's insane. This sealed environment. Well, they have a trick now, but I guess we'll find out what it is. Nope, they're just gonna bring the Green Widow back, I guess. We're gonna have to deal with this Green Widow at some point. Zar O'Janin. As much as I want to play the Mossbeard Ancient, it might be worth just killing Zar immediately. I could play the Beast Caller this turn still. I contribute and still play Beast Caller. So I'm still playing a creature, and then the Beast Caller is better. Once I do... Once I do play the Ancient, the Beast Caller gets its +1/+1 counter, which is pretty cool. What is your 1 mana? Okay, there is no 1 mana card. They're just gonna stop the damage. Vine Shaper Prodigy, great value play. We've been casting a lot of those ourselves. How many Vine Walls do they have? Vine Wall 3? That is really good. The deck is just like incredible for an Argosy. Triple Vine Wall. Mylanta. Alright, we're dropping a Mossbeard Ancient while they're tapped out. Joda's Codex is going to cost us 1 mana to draw a card every turn. Magnagoth Sentry, that's pretty big. Cavalier as well, yep. Getting the board state wide enough to block this Ancient, potentially. May even have to just Tolarian Geyser the Magnagoth Sentry. They only have 5 power left on the board. Soaring Drake stops this Mesa Cavalier from hitting us, so we can Geyser the Sentry, attack in with Mossbeard Ancient and play a Soaring Drake. Although that is an untapped land, which gives me the mana to play Codex instead. Which I'm moderately tempted to do. Just take another 2 damage, go to 11, and then I block Cavalier from that point on. Put them down to 14. Life totals are starting to even out a little bit. And I am going to drop the Codex. Now it only requires a 1 mana commitment every turn from now on to be getting our value. Magnagoth Sentry is back. Captain's Call makes the board wide. I guess they can enlist Cavalier. I'll just block with a 2/2 Prodigy. Not super worried about the Captain's Call, but that is a thing. Another land for us. Well, let's Impulse then. Linebreaker, Repossession, Scatter. We only have 1 creature in our grave still. Oh my god. Linebreaker can only get blocked by Magnagoth Sentry. But I'm gonna play Soaring Drake this turn.
Play Soaring Drake Repossession this turn. Yes, I can do that, so I attack with Mossbeard and then repossession it. If they don't kill this Mossbeard, I'm going to cry. Maybe I should have sent in Prodigy as well, so something would definitely die right now. Obviously, if they kill Mossbeard, this works really well for me, but if they just let 7-3, that could be a problem. Alright, we're going to kill the heck out of this Mossbeard. Oh my god. Alright, we're killing the 4-4 Reach. So our flyer gets in, and then we just want to make their board as small as possible, so kill multiple 1/1s. Could kill the enlist card, but again, I have a 2-2 to block with on the enlist, so I'm not worried about it. Okay. Soaring Drake, so I can block Cavalier. Kick Repossession, pick up Ancient, and Badger. So we are handedly winning the value game, and we have blockers for all of their threats now. And we have a win con still, another Mossbeard Ancient. Could still mill myself, but I have not drawn Techova yet. Techova went on the bottom 6 at random at the very start of this game, I think. So somewhere in these 6 cards. So like right in the middle of our deck at this point. Forgot these are not at random. We could have ordered the creatures all to the top. I need to be doing that. Because our deck is... The format, and specifically our deck, is grindy enough that we get to the bottom cards. I need to not auto-order the cards. Put all the creatures on the top every time. Alright, tapped Green Widow back on board. Not a big deal at all. It can block the Soaring Drake, but that's not our win con. Kill the Beast Caller 2. I guess now I can just make the Soaring Drake the win con instead. Boop. Big Soaring Drake. Ooh, Essence Scatter. Like that. Do I get to hold that up after I play a Mossbeard? Sure do. Sure do. Need to play a land if I want to draw a card and hold it up, which gives me less lands for Techova, but still probably worth it. I mean, I guess it's perfectly possible that I just don't scatter here. I'm at 18 life. So I think I'm sending the Drake in. Yeah, I'm actually going to hold this land. If we scatter, I'll miss out on a Codex, that's fine. If there's something I need to scatter, then it's going to have been worth it. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's worth it. That is very worth it. That would have given them a second Green Widow, or a second Cavalier. Probably the second Green Widow. They have to double block this flyer if they don't want to take the flying damage, which kills both their Llanowar Green Widow and their Mesa Cavalier. Vine Shaper Prodigy should hit Techova. I'm just going to go for Techova post-combat, because again, if they want to kill Soaring Drake, they have to lose all of their flying blockers. And then we'll play Techova on a board where our opponent has no blockers for flyers. And then I still have the Bog Badger for Menace to finish the game off handedly. I should have sent the Ancient as well. That was really dumb. I don't know why I didn't. I was so hive mind on, or so focused in, blinders up on the flying strat with the Techova coming down soon. I completely forgot about the Mossbeard Ancient. That should have absolutely been attacking as well this turn. That was definitely a misplay. Oh, they do have a shore up. Okay, I guess they keep Mesa Cavalier, but Cavalier's not big enough to block 3/3 flyers. So that'll be fine. I really thought Tachova was in these cards. Maybe she's one card deeper than I thought? Maybe I'm thinking of a different game. What the heck? Well, I know which card Tachova is. I know which card Tachova is. It's this one. Right there. That's sad. Alright, well, still in a good position. Keep these lands, because literally our next draw is Tachova. We'll tribute the flyer most likely, but tribute can do -10, -10, so I don't think we want to do it immediately. We want to hold it in case our opponent has their own green defiler or something coming up. Look who it is. Who would have guessed this card was coming? Okay, let's stop being done with the Ancient. I should be attacking with everybody at this point, actually, probably. The Vine Shaper Prodigies too, we're at 18 life, we got removal in hand. Everything on their board is small enough to actually trade into a Prodigy now. These have been some loose last few turns. Luckily, we're just so far ahead with all of our value cards. It's not going to matter. Pretty much tied with our opponent on time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still save tribute because we're winning the game handedly. I don't know if this counters the rest of the spell. I'm gonna hope it does. It does. That is disgusting. Very nice to keep that in mind. If you destroy whatever they target with Strength of the Coalition, they don't get the +1/+1 counters anymore. And you just absolutely devastate. Got several lands for several turns. I don't need to draw anything, I just win the game this turn. They can block one creature. Thanks to Menace. Stinky Badger Boy. That was a really good game for us. Super long, super grindy, but that is what it's kind of all about in this format. And definitely in this deck. Don't think there was anything to sideboard around. We saw most of our opponent's deck, and didn't look super particularly balmy. They had 14 cards left. They do have a Citizen's Arrest, so if I had a Broken Wings or something, I could put that in to blow that up. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. There's like Golden Argosy we saw. But I don't think there's enough stuff to throw Negate in. I mean, if I could get an easy White Splash, a Destroy Evil would be solid in the matchup. They've got plenty of 4 toughness creatures and plenty of enchantments. Well, 1 enchantment, that's important, but we don't have an easy White Splash. And we see how much difficulty we have with the Black Splash in the first place. I think I'm just running it back. Again, we could be playing the Scout the Wilderness in here, but Scout the Wilderness, when you can never kick it in your deck because you don't have any white duels, I just don't think it's worth it. Maybe that's just my greed speaking and my yearning for a Weatherseed Treaty in this deck. But unkicked Scout the Wilderness is like always the kind of last resort kind of thing, like, oh, I really need really need more ways to get this mana. Tapping out turn 3 for a card that doesn't affect the board at all. It's probably actually a lot more viable in sealed than it is in draft. Kind of like the aggressive sabotage. I always talk crap about Mind Rot, but aggressive sabotage is pretty real in this sealed format. Probably fine in the draft format too because of how slow it is, but definitely in this sealed format because you've seen how these games go. They're like these drawn out value games where even halfway through each player's decks, each player has like 3+ cards in hand sometimes. So there's much less opportunities to draw your Mind Rot style discard 2 card and have it not do anything. Almost always does something in the sealed format, I feel. And I've still never run it. Well, I need to draw Blue Source pretty badly. I can play a Bog Badger turn 3 and hope for a Prodigy turn 4. I'm on the draw here. I know I can cast 2 spells, even if the second one's not going to be great. I'm going to keep. We are really hoping for that Blue Source to be somewhere in our top 10 cards. If it is, we'll be golden. We've got 6 of them in this deck. We'll see. Opponent starts with the Flurfish Vine Wall. They've got triple Vine Wall, so we're probably going to see that a lot. Argivian Cavalier. There we go, the Blue Source. It is absolute perfection over here. Because I have an Urborg Repossession in hand, I'm actually kind of okay with trading my Bog Badger down into their Cavalier when they enlist their 1/1 and attack in, just to keep some pressure off of us. We saw last game how well our deck can play in the long game against our opponent, so let's do everything we can to survive to that long game. And that's going to involve trading our 3/3 down when we could later just trade the Prodigy instead. Oh. Well, if they bite down, opponent knows the matchup too. They know exactly what it's about here. They understand that they need to just get as much damage in as quickly as possible and try to keep us off the late game plays. So, looks like we both know their score here. And we'll see how things go. But yeah, that was really aggressive, but I like the play. I think that's the kind of play they need to make here in this matchup. Well, those are cards. They're actually not bad because we have a Mossbeard Ancient in hand. I guess we take our second Blue Source. But it's just kind of funny, just a lack of options there. No attacks, I will absolutely take it. 5 mana on board, 6th and 7th in hand is beautiful. Don't have a huge reason to drop a Soaring Drake right now. I don't need it, so I'm pretty good to just not impact the board for the turn. And play an Espionage instead, but I could play that next turn as well. But next turn I could play Drake and Repossession if something dies. I don't know, we'll go Espionage. This could come back to bite me, but we'll see. Well, I'm definitely glad to get these cards out of the way. Soaring Drake of their own. Alright, well now we'll play our Soaring Drake and we still don't have to worry either way. Just gonna say if they attack in, that's beautiful for me because then Repossession's great. Alright, no creature's dead. Don't think we're repossessing, we'll Impulse instead. I'm not gonna Repossession for 1 creature when I'm still at 17 life. I'm not under enough pressure to need to do that. Probably should have just impulsed before I did anything else, because I don't have any instants to play. I could have hit a better card to play this turn than Soaring Drake, since I'd have 4 mana up after the impulse. Alright, combat trick me and I'll repossession back this Drake soon enough. Strength of the Coalition again. Colossal Growth this time, okay. No trample though at least, so it's just going to kill the Drake. X-Bane Tortoise, alright. Impulse, Tribute to Urborg seems good. Linebreaker's fine. A gigantic creature on the ground already though. Tortoise can attack as a 5-power thing, I just block with Prodigy. I think I pick up Tribute to Urborg. And then just play Ancient for now. They can't, the flyer doesn't enlist, so we just take 2 damage from the flyer. Ooh, now we have a Codex to play soon. They Citizen's Arrest Mossbeard, that's actually going to be kind of a bad deal. I think I still drop it though. I gain plenty life, and I've still got the huge Repossession double creature plays next turn. Alright, there's the one citizen's arrest that we saw. That's out of the way. Still going to be at a pretty hefty life total after the swing. Actually, might be at the full 20 if they just attack with one creature and unlist it. Send in the squad. That might mean another trick here. I would be unhappy with that. Kind of cool to take 7 and kill their 1/1 if this is just them trying to get damage in. If it's them trying to use a trick on my creature, then I'm also kind of okay with that because we can still repossession our dude, our Vine Shaper Prodigy. Hopefully Arena's not glitching out on us. Okay, there's the Hourglass. I would be really, really sad to lose a round due to Arena glitching. Especially because it is the final round, so if this Hourglass stops and doesn't change, that means that Arena's glitching. Just really wish it would visually represent when you're the one that's disconnected from the game. Okay. It actually says timeout used, so our opponent is disconnected from the game currently. But I've had experiences where it'll bring the Hourglass up for my opponent, but then when it closes down, it doesn't switch and say timeout used. That's how I know I'm actually the one who's disconnected. I just wish it had, you know, like Apex Legend does, or some other games where they have the thing in the top right corner that tells you like packet loss error or something, so you know when your internet's messing up with it or something like that. It always gives me anxiety. I still feel like I might be the one who's disconnected here. There's no way my opponent's just thinking here. Somebody is not connected to Arena. Somebody got disconnected. Alright, I guess that's pretty rough for my opponent. I feel like that matchup was pretty good for us, even if we couldn't win that game. But I feel like that game, even itself, was going fine for us. I'll never know what was in their hand. But I think I was kind of free to just kill the 1/1, take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, go to 15 life. Next turn I play Swamp, 3 mana to repossession and have 5 mana up afterwards. So I could repossession, play the Drake to block the Flyer, still have a 2/2 to block one of these things on the ground. They really aren't doing that much pressure. From that point on, then we take over with Codex, the cheap tribute to trade into things. I think we had a pretty good position to try to do the same kind of thing we did last game in this game, but we'll unfortunately never know how the game would have actually gone. Our opponent did have a lot of creatures on boards there, so maybe they could end up finding the win, but again, I feel like the matchup was pretty good for us. We really, really have the late game there, so even if we couldn't win that game, being able to get another chance, a third game there, especially being on the play in the third game, I think would give us a pretty reasonable shot when you factor in that we might have won that game, and then even if we didn't win that game, we get another shot when we're on the play. I think we had a good chance in the round with that matchup, but again, we'll never know. Maybe our opponent would have absolutely beaten our butts if they didn't disconnect. So who knows? Maybe they had some incredible cards in hand. They're a really good trick to ruin my block. And just constant pressure from that point on. If so, that is a huge bummer for them, but it is going to be our first 4-win traditional sealed Dominaria United run. I will absolutely take it. I think this deck was super sweet. I really like the kind of idea I went for with the tribute to Urborg Splash. I think that was for the better. I probably shouldn't have. It was probably pretty
results-oriented thinking and not thinking probabilistically to cut the black splash just because I really missed hard on the black mana in that one game that I lost in the round that we lost. Because the other game that we lost in that round was a game where I could have really used Tribute to Urborgs. Again, that was the game with the biggest misplays of the entire day. I was also not considering the fact that Tachiova was higher up in my library than I thought she was, so I should not have been so concerned about milling myself out as quickly as I was had we gotten Tachiova earlier by constantly drawing cards like I could have been doing. Maybe we would have got enough flyers quickly enough to close that game out and have been 4-0 instead of 4-1. So that was the big misplay there. Definitely keep in mind there's a lot of cards in this format, especially if you're a green-blue deck, that are going to put cards on the bottom of your library. So if you've tucked away a Tachiova off of a turn 2 impulse, doesn't mean you're not going to play Tachiova, because you can tuck more cards away underneath Tachiova with Vine Shaper Prodigies, more copies of Impulse, and Floriferous Vine Wall, and they put a lot of cards below, and it's a generally grindy color pair, so you're going to dig pretty far in your deck. So biggest learning point of the day was that loss, learning that it's important to keep in mind all of the tucking effects that are putting cards on the bottom of your deck means that something put on the bottom at the start of the game is not going to remain there the entire game. You're going to probably redraw that card, especially in a deck that looks like this. Again, double Prodigy, Vine Wall, double Impulse. So, biggest kind of learning point of the day. Other than that, definitely some misplays when we were in the lead in a few of those games. We got just really comfortable and started playing kind of sloppy. Luckily, we weren't punished for it, but we could have been. So there were some sloppy lines later in the game where we could have won a few of those matches, one, two, maybe even 3 turns sooner if I'd been attacking more aggressively. Like there was definitely a round I should have been sending in the Ancient when I was only attacking with the Flyer, little stuff like that. But overall, not too much I'm unhappy about, not too much really like painful lessons learned. Just a good run, just a good fun run with a good fun deck, a 4-1. I'll take it and run away with it. We'll take all these gems, these bonus packs, and yeah, that's going to end today's video. I hope you all enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed playing it, playing this deck, and if you want to see more videos like this, just stick around on the channel. You can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send you some more in your recommended feeds. We've got some great stuff on the horizon. The qualifier weekend is this Saturday. That is going to be more best of 3 Dominaria United Sealed. I will be playing in that and doing as well as I can, just trying to get as many gems as I can since I'm qualified for it anyway. And then the end of the month, if you want more competitive Magic, is the Arena Open. That is on October 1st. That will be best of 1 Dominaria Sealed. I will try very hard to day 2 that because I've day 2'd every other limited Arena Open this year. And day 2 lets us play a very competitive draft, a best of 3 draft of the format. So that'll be really cool. In the meantime, as always, be playing plenty of limited as it is my favorite format. So once again, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.